Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining. Thanks a lot for taking the time for today's session. My name is Oleg. I'm the founder of Extrovert, and here with me is David. Hey, David.
Hey, good to see everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot for taking the time, and really appreciate you taking the time to share your workflow here. And I am super excited for today because David is one of the greatest minds in GTM engineering that I know, and he's working in as a fractional CXO for different companies, and he has built a lot of GTM systems for those companies that he's calling GTM OS, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. So while people are gathering, just quick note before we begin. Uh, we want to make this session interactive, so it's not just us, talking. So please do share your questions. Please do share your opinions in the chat. I will be addressing them, and I will, um, um, just reading them out loud so that David can answer them as we go. So right now, please drop a plus in the chat or whatever if you can hear us well, if you can see us well, if everything is fine with picture and sound. And David, glad to have you here. Please tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Oleg. Thanks for having me. Hard to live up to that claim of being one of the best minds in GTM. I think we're definitely all figuring things out as they go. And I would say a lot of first principles that have been the case in GTM and marketing and sales for the past 20, 30, maybe even 50 years are still the case today, but we've just sort of accelerated everything. And that's what I wanted to share today. Again, thanks to Extrovert for having me here. I'm going to show you a lot of stuff during this session. It's going to be quite fast-paced. So extract what makes sense for your case, and then it's fine to jump in and interrupt me along the way. Although what I'll do is if it's something I'll cover later, I'll just say that I won't answer it right away, or else I'm going to be flipping through the demo. And if it's something, so if possible, please double click on what I'm currently saying rather than saying something that's maybe a tangent, if possible. But don't be scared to ask a question because maybe that's didn't create a lot of psychological safety there. Quick practical thing. So if you want to reach out to me, if you're interested to nerd out, whatever, or if you want to work together, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. X, it's not great because I never check the DMs on X. Or you can also just contact me on, this is my personal Gmail. So I usually do that for webinars and for sessions because it's just easier and better than the company one because the company one goes through a bunch of sorting agents and they might not make it directly to me. Quick background so you know who you're talking to, whose opinions are these that are being shared with you today. So a few things. For 10 years, I run a company called, actually, it wasn't 10 years, it was more like 7 or 8 years. I run a company called Growth Tribe. We trained about 47,000 people in growth and in data before it was cool, mostly in Europe. And we also did implementations of analytical, experiment-driven teams and engines within organizations. So what I'm going to present today, I've basically been doing it for like 15 years. Except, yeah, like I said, since November 2022, things have changed. The ground under us as GTM marketeers or sales has changed. And now what I specifically do is sort of three things. I build GTM engines inside companies. So I don't actually build them myself. I architect them, and then I have a team of developers who build them, or I build them with the developers that are already within your teams. And a GTM engine just means like the software and the automation a company uses to find and win customers, right? I've built 22 of them so far for the past year and a half, seven for unicorns, six for big enterprises, and the rest is sort of startups and early stage. And I've also started to release a public version of my second brain, which I can share the link with you a little bit later, that has all of the sort of playbooks, workflows that I use at an individual level. But here we're talking more about companies today, rather than personal productivity. And yeah, I've also placed 27 forward deployed engineers. So part of my activity is we have a pool of GTM engineers. I think it's one of the scarcest resources on the planet at the moment. Engineers who actually understand marketing and sales can be placed inside a team, intuitively understand it, and can start helping to build out the motions, the plays, the engine. So I've placed 27 so far. We now have a team of 30 developers who we place within your teams. They're fully embedded, they work full time for you, and the fully loaded cost is really, really low. I'll come back to why I think that's the scarcest resource in our industry right now in a little bit. And then three, I also run my own small products with our small venture studio. It's basically our testing ground. It's our playground. Today, it's run by 1.5 people. The ventures in there are fully autonomous, so it's fully PLG. All the acquisition channels are autonomous. The onboarding is autonomous. The customer support is autonomous. And across 5 or 6 ventures, there's 112K MRR, which is not huge, maybe compared to your organizations, but it's essentially our testing ground. Everything I show clients, everything I'm going to show you today, most of the time we've tested it in here first on our own money, our own revenue, our own customers. We made mistakes in there before doing it at clients. And I also run a cool little um, community. It's called Gen AI Circle. So we're now 402 operators, users, Gen AI enthusiasts doing this daily. So that's also what I do. And that's it. So 22 companies served so far from early stage B2B, B2C, mostly scale-ups and enterprise at this point. Now, instead of like, first I want to show you high level. I try to visualize this, what a end state sort of GTM OS looks like. And when I go into if I'm going to go right away into the dashboard that I'll show you later, so I'm going to show you all of this cool stuff. The problem is it's sometimes hard to anthropomorphize it or to visualize it. So what I wanted to do is I created this thing just to explain a little bit what it is that I'm trying to explain. And this is the end result. It doesn't mean that you need to build all of this, but this is really the end result of what we're trying to achieve here. And it's basically creating your humanoid, but in the digital world rather than like a robotic humanoid. So I tried to illustrate it a bit here. And you have different components to what we're going to be discussing today. So first of all, you have like the brain. The idea is to have one shared memory across the organization, whether you're 2 or 20,000. Everything the company knows, the CRM, the calls, the website, the market. The idea is for it to land in this one place. And then every other organ in the body reads from it. And everything that happens writes back into it. So you have a shared brain, shared memory. Most companies don't have this. They have like 30 tools that each know one little thing. But that's where you can't have compounding memory and these sort of learning loops. Next, let's say that you have like if I just, you have the eyes, let's call it. Eyes, it's like we're watching buyer signals, competitor moves, market shifts around the clock. The body sees a buying window open before any sort of human would, and that's kind of the idea. Next, you have the ears. So the ears, they're listening to our sales calls, the replies are read and understood. The system hears what the market answers, right? Which most companies today never actually process or share internally. You also have the mouth. So the mouth is outreach and content in the buyer's language on their channel, and a person basically presses, in some cases, every message that carries sort of a name or it gets sent out. In a lot of cases, this also gets sort of automated, but I always advise to have a human in the loop for these types of motions. Then you have the hands. The hands is the cool stuff you see online, right? It's all of the engines I'm going to show you today, the scoring, ads, outreach, the actual daily work. The hands are the ones that execute what the brain up there is actually deciding. There's the heart. That's my favorite one. It's the human in the loop. You see it's beating a little bit.
Sorry,
Every consequential.
sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
think you're not sharing. Can you please share the screen? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't sharing the screen.
Sorry, yeah, yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
My bad. Is it working now?
oh, it was animated. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
cool,
So
cool.
sorry. So again, you've got your little humanoid, and this is the brain, the eyes that I was discussing, the ears, the mouth, the hands, and the heart. And the heart is kind of the soul, the heart, human in the loop. Um, uh, it's essentially the taste, the judgment that humans are still better than LLMs at making. LLMs are really intelligent, but they're bad at judgment. And then a bunch of other stuff, basically the spine, the immune system, all of the guardrails, access control, spending caps, kill switches, quality checks, observability. So the immune system attacks anything that shouldn't be shipped. And then kind of the feet. That's the rails that everything stands on. So this is kind of the idea to sort of try to anthropomorphize it. This is what we try to build. And what's really interesting is optional. You can also, by the way, you can check this out if you're interested. It's just on it's on the homepage of my website now since this morning at heyarnoux.com. And you can actually go click and see how this thing works from a brain point of view. So if you look inside the brain, basically you've got like all your data sources, your first party data sources, second party data sources, third party, your external APIs with like external trend recognition, your human in the loop, that's us, that's the human, and then the outputs of the engine, whether it's a self-learning ads engine, an SEO GEO engine, LinkedIn ads engine, content marketing engine, whatever your motion or your play is. So that's kind of very, very high level what the end state is. Now, getting there is actually not that straightforward and simple, and it starts use case per use case, POC per POC. And I want to show you some of the motions today that you might want to run. The thing I do want to say first is that everything I'm sharing today comes from real projects. So there's like two, three I'm allowed to name where I'm no longer under NDA. And the others, I can just tell you what the industry is and the size of the company. So one of them is like Joom Pro. They're part of a massive e-commerce group. They help businesses to buy directly from factories abroad. Thousands of leads, extremely big revenue, and their GTM AI core team runs on this exact pattern that I'm going to show you today. We sprint together weekly. We build out the engines. We build out the plays, and everybody's augmented basically within that GTM team. There's also Backbase, 2.5 billion euro company. They make the software your banking app probably runs on. And the reason I like to bring up Backbase is because banking is one of the most careful regulated industries there is. And even there, we were able to achieve full end-to-end engine. So there's like 250 plus data tables, 160 plus people in it daily. Tim Rutte, visionary CMO, won the GTM 2026 Pavilion Awards with the work that we've been doing there. By the way, please, if you want to talk about boldness and vision, have a read at his Substack article, AI-native GTM, all the way or not at all. You can just Google that one. It's really interesting. This type of move takes boldness and a little bit of risk taking, and like he says it in the title, all in or not at all. You need to reinvent the processes from scratch rather than try to latch on automation on top of already existing processes. This will all become a little bit more practical once I give you a demo of the GTM OS. The rest are kind of under NDA, or I'm not sure if they're under NDA, but I don't want to get sued, so I don't want to share them. But you'll see the numbers. So there's a consumer goods group that you all have in your kitchen right now. There's a hospitality unicorn. There's a cybersecurity unicorn. And then there's a big, big travel group as well. Okay, so I actually want to start with 7 bold claims. So if you remember anything from today, maybe you remember these 7 things. They're not completely true. I'm being dichotomous on purpose, but I kind of believe in them, and I think that the pendulum is swinging in this direction. The first one, I don't think we need to convince people who join this session. Yeah, it's being recorded. It'll be sent. So it's the idea that the 100x operator is real. Just me personally, I run 3 businesses from the terminal now in my Cloud Code. Would not have been possible 2, 3 years ago. I feel like a 100x operator. And I think that we are starting to see the 100x marketeer. We're starting to see the 100x salesperson, 100x ops person. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say 100x. It might even be 1,000x at some point, especially once you've got your automations up and running. And I truly believe in the billion-dollar unicorn has already been built. The second thing is revenue per employee, whether we like it or not, it's definitely a board metric. It's being discussed inside boards, but this doesn't mean we're firing people. In most cases, I don't see layoffs because of AI. What I actually see is augmentation and increase in productivity and increase in top line. So there's not a single team yet where I've seen people being laid off because of the AI. I sometimes question what the role of juniors is going to be, but like every S curve, technological S curve, I think we're redefining what the junior is capable of doing. And it's probably like, something around better prototyper and understanding the data connections, and just a junior version of what I'm going to show you today. I used to be on the jobs apocalypse side of things maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago. I don't believe it anymore. I think the GTM engineer is the most valuable hire that any organization can do right now. I think marketing is way more of an engineering role than it used to be, like way, way more, even like 3, 4 years ago. And I think a lot of marketing departments have not embedded GTM engineers, and I think they should start doing it right now because when you do it, it's just absolutely magical. Whether you train a marketeer or whether you find include an existing developer in-house now and embed them, or if you use an external. Another thing I want to say is this work makes the job better. Nobody signed up to marketing for filling out Salesforce, HubSpot, PowerPoints, Excel sheets like we've been doing for the last 10 years. And this actually makes it possible not to do all that BS mundane work. So you can focus on productivity, taking risks, being provocative, all the stuff that actually works in this attention economy. I also think that build beats buy right now, and I'll be precise because I was invited here today, and I really like the tool Extrovert, and I actually think it falls in the category of something that you should buy rather than build. But the idea was never to build everything. You should buy data and Rails, and you build the brain that's in the middle. I'll give you one example. There's one unicorn client that sunset. Now we're at 375,000 worth of annual SaaS this year, only 4 months into the project, because basically your head of RevOps and chief commercial officer were like, "Why are we using this tool? We can build this overnight. It's just a fancy UX layer." What is really hard to build, however, is the data sources. And sometimes tools that have the right terms of service and the API connections already built in. Although I also think GEO is a massive untapped potential for every company in this room right now. Your best salesperson right now at the bottom of the funnel, it's an LLM, and I see it again and again and again on every SEO GEO project we do. Pro tip on this one, like open your favorite LLMs in a fresh session tonight. Ask a simple question. What's the best tool for XYZ, depending on what you do? What's the best agency in this region for XYZ? If you're not in the answer, you are leaving money on the table of showing up inside not search engines, but inside whatever chat of choice or AI of choice people are using. And then congratulations, you found your roadmap right there. So I would really suggest you plant the seeds of LLM optimization, GEO, generative engine optimization, today. You will gather the rewards within like 3 or 4 months. And then
Sorry,
the
David,
last bold
can you
claim.
please elaborate on the last one? Do you mean that just basically utilize GEO as much as possible, or you mean use LLMs as processes to close, inside your own like
Yeah,
process on bottom of
Yeah,
funnel?
it's just for the past 15 years, I've been telling people to invest in SEO as a non-brainer, as a marathon, and now I'm saying invest in SEO and GEO.
Got it.
It's the engine that never stops giving, ever stops giving. And on LLMs, it's bottom of funnel, you're in consideration phase. LLMs on average, they show 10 to 15 results. So it's actually quite easy to show up. And it's LLMs are lazy. We're in this Wild West phase. It's easy to show up inside LLM answers today. And it's completely underinvested in like 95% of businesses at the moment. So yeah, I was talking about like investing in generative engine optimization in GEO.
Cool.
And I can maybe show a few things a little bit later.
We also have a question
We
about from Colin about build versus buy. Seems like right now traditional SaaS companies are figuring out how to use AI, and they're behind. But don't you think the vendors will catch up and deliver like
No,
better ROI?
Yeah, so I'm not seeing it yet. So first of all, I think even if they catch up, their pricing models don't make sense. So I don't understand why we're paying so much for 6 cents, for example. You can replicate 90% of
Yeah.
6 cents overnight, except for the data sources. So I'd rather just buy the data sources and build up the UX layer than you're sunsetting between 50 to 200K per year. And who wants to depend on a vendor's roadmap? So sure, you can maybe for a little bit of proof of concepting, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it's a CapEx play now. You actually, the engine is the capitalization piece. So sure, for proof of concepting, in 90% of cases, I think the vendors will be too slow. And who wants vendor lock-in nowadays? And who can justify these pricing models? I don't understand these pricing models. I really don't. I think if the vendor reduces its price by 90%, doesn't have a seat-based pricing anymore, then yeah, sure, we can maybe chat. But then you're left with a smorgasbord of 150 API connections to make sure it all talks together. And if you talk to your RevOps, that's the opposite of what they're trying to implement. Again, it's a bold clickbaity claim, not nuanced, but I do feel this is the way the market's going, at least for the high performing teams that I see. Talk to any team out of Silicon Valley, like their RevOps is basically trying to build everything internally today. Huh? That's what's happening, especially with the cost of the tokens, especially when you see what some of these open source models are capable of doing. I don't know if you've been playing around with Kimi 3 since it came out a couple of days ago. Why are we paying so much for Fable 5? Where have the billions of dollars in investment on the proprietary models gone? I don't get it. And it's all Transformers. So crazy, crazy
Yeah,
world.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, you might be right, Colin, if they adapt pricing models, but I don't know. I kind of believe in the SaaS apocalypse a little bit. Not all of it, but some of it. Because
I
and this
heard
is from
the
the
I
voice
heard
of
the
yeah.
I heard the take like a hot take on X yesterday that everyone will have an app, but everyone will have zero users. So kind of
You know what the thing I hear the most at the moment with like at the CCO, CMO, or RevOps level, once they're like 5, 6 months into building this GTM engine, is like, why are we paying for HubSpot? Why are we paying for Salesforce? It's just the source of truth. It's just the system of record. And then they're like, why are we paying for this UX layer on top of it? So it's not coming from my voice. It's coming from theirs.
interesting.
Okay, this is an analogy. Maybe I'll skip it. Hmm. No way I would put mission control intro concepts into that. I worry about Anthropic security, privacy. Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, you can also run it. You can also run it. You can also run. So just on the piece about Kimi, you can also run it on local. You can also run it locally. My point will be you can run safe open source models um, um, that maybe are not as strong as the cutting edge models. But what we see is also 96, I don't know what the percentage is, or 99% of use cases don't need the latest models. Absolutely don't need the latest models. So you can run 99% of the use cases I'll show you today on like older models that are cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not so scared about token maxing and token costs and things like model routing. Maybe I should have put that in the bold claims as well. This is maybe too high level. What I would like to say, so the history rhymes, basically, this has happened before, but I'll skip this one. It's too much storytelling. What I do see more and more is that one department within businesses is already far, far ahead, and it tends to be product. A lot of companies have product that's gone AI native, it's shipping weekly, and working in this manner. Whereas marketing, sales, ops still have 30 tools, manual glue. Like I do a lot of audits when I do projects, and when I come in, it's the same thing. A bunch of tools, manual glue. We took a Claude enterprise license. Everybody's on Gemini or Copilot enterprise license. And you know, mm, however, there's no sort of consolidation of the knowledge, and there's no sort of shared engines or shared plays. That's still not the case. Most of us are in level one over here. So let me just go to product versus the rest. Oh yeah, I got rid of that slide, but most of us are still in sort of augmentation and not yet in automation or proactiveness. And when a system is proactive, it's when it comes to you as the human with the recommendation, rather than the other way around, rather than it's you trying to pull information from the system. And I'll try to give you a few demos of that when we go into the GTM OS. So let me just skip to this one. So like this is kind of a thesis. If AI is going to pay for itself anywhere in your company today, I actually don't think it's on product. I think developers don't actually care how much they're paying on the token side, and I actually think it's inside GTM. It starts in marketing and sales. Two reasons. Number one, it's like the safest place to start. If you do a lot of top of funnel stuff, the early work usually runs on like public information, websites, job posts, your own analytics. And like if a draft comes out of like an ABM engine and a human catches it, nobody gets hurt. The risk of a false positive is not so high. And it also has impact. So you could say the same thing about internal processes, but there's only cost reduction impact on internal processes, whereas sales and marketing, it drives the top line of the business. So two is that the wins show up fast and everybody can see them. More pipeline, cheaper customers, more output per person. These are numbers that leaderships actually watch and care about. It's the only ones they often watch and care about. Cost optimization usually comes a second. And then what usually happens is if you embed this within your GTM department, you usually look like a hero within 5, 6 months, and then CEO comes knocking on the door. So this has happened to me a few times where I'm now helping architect company-wide transformation. So CEO knocks on the door and is like, "Hey, that thing you did in marketing and sales, I want it for finance, I want it for ops, I want it for HR, I want it for business operations. Let's whip up a center of excellence next to these embedded engineers inside the BUs, and let's run this company-wide." Again, that's just a trend. Then it goes company-wide. All right. I mean, I want to show you some like results. Maybe I'll skip it for now. I don't know. Maybe I should show you the engine first. I wasn't sure. Yeah, let's just skip this one for now. But this is just sort of GSC, SEO and GEO results from some of these engines that I'm going to show you. This is the youngest one, brand new site, 6 months old, super early stage, started from zero. Nobody knew it existed, small numbers, but you see the shape and it's already on page one of Google. That part usually takes years. It's possible to go faster now. The one I'm more excited about is like LLM citations. So this is a Belgian consumer brand over here. I think it's this one or this one, I forget. They have personalized nutrition. They're selling across Europe. And ChatGPT recommends them as number one in 3 countries right now. How? They answered the thousands of small specific questions their buyers were actually typing and built a free tool that people genuinely use. And we built a bunch of listicles, and it's just working. And we can maybe do a double click on the SEO GEO piece in a little bit. But what I want to show you is that the augmentation of these motions we used to run leads to results. This one is maybe too much information. Just this is kind of, you can go back and look at this when you look at the recording, or I sent you the presentation. If you want to try to build this yourself, what goes into the brain over here is more than data. So your judgment also goes in, what a good customer looks like, what you never say, your dictionary, what we call the semantic layer, the rules, what counts as a lead, what counts as an active customer. Every company has 10 definitions of these across 10 tools. And these, in my opinion, still need to be deterministic. You still need specific rules. The probabilistic approach of LLMs is not good enough. So this is where the heavy lifting takes place for humans, creating those rules. And that's where automation usually breaks if those rules are not done correctly. So the dictionary is written down once as hard rules that the AI uses. And you never let AI make up its own definitions. That's the boring work that needs to happen ahead of being able to run something like this. And then on top, you've got sort of apps and 3 pieces of plumbing, access control, a conductor, cheap models for the grunt work, expensive models for judgment, and then usually the human gate. That's it. And then basically all the plays that I want to show you in a little bit. I recommend always having human in the loop, and then you get GTM outputs, and then it feeds back through the conductor into the brain. So we have these self-learning loops. It's almost like open claw for adults with guardrails, essentially, if you want to use that analogy. So I can maybe feel some of you composing some questions. So before you ask, all of what I'm showing today has security by design, compliance by design, scalability by design, cyber by design, prompt injection. guardrails by design. You can never be safe. You can always be safe-ish. Cyber principles, isolation, 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 access control, yes, hallucinations, yes, costs. Happy to double click on all of these during the Q&A, but that's not the cool marketing stuff that we're here for today. But these should all be cooked in by design. And to be fair, even a lot of the guardrails we create, zero data retention. Come on. You really think that's protection, zero data retention? Let's be honest. You're probably feeding the proprietary models anyway. But yes, we are ticking the boxes that need to be ticked for this to be as safe as possible. Okay. Enough slides. I think that's already a lot of information. I want to show you what this looks like today. So this was also quite hard for me to prepare. I've tried to do a smorgasbord of all of the use cases that I've run, most of them, combine them on something called GTM OS, so you can see all of the different plays, anonymize everything, and then show you what this can look like. When it's kind of live, because a good demo is worth 16 hours of webinar and of explanations. So this is just a synthesis, right, of what it might look like once you start building it inside the organization based on that design I showed you before. I got a question. Very compelling presentation, in your opinion. Who are the potential customers for this? Since many SaaS companies would also say that they'll build something like this themselves. What are your top industries? Honestly, I don't have so much of an industry focus at the moment. I'm a lot in fintech, I'm a lot in retail, quite a bit in e-commerce. I have some med tech, even some, quite a bit of B2B enterprise. There's also a little bit of deep tech. It's a little bit across the board. It more has to do with the psychographics of the business. Are they forward thinking, and how tuned in and how much of a sense of urgency does the CEO, does RevOps, head of operations, and commercial officers feel? Do you do anything in employee benefits, B2B? No, 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 nothing there. Playbook on what? Sorry, Nico, if you could tell me playbook on what, and then I can maybe answer that one. So first of all, I want to show you the left menu. This is just some examples of engines that can be run. All of these engines are a potential SaaS that you would pay X amount for. My thesis is that we should actually be building this and grabbing the data sources rather than paying off the shelf for a bunch of SaaS that are going to be all over the place. Can you share a playbook on this, on your whole system? How to wire the brain with the loops, with signals, research, etc. Yeah, I think it's more than a playbook. It's what you can do is you can go to my it's a change management piece almost. You can go to my website over here, and then just if you go to find out more, you can see the transformation playbook here. Read the transformation playbook. But I don't go as much into the technical aspect. If you want, take the transcript from the call here today, stick it in your Claude Coder in your Claude, and say, "Hey, this sounded good. What's the next step to implement this?" And you can build your own sort of playbook.
In a month,
I don't
yeah,
have a playbook.
it will be silent for a month, and then it will spit out something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Not sure if
Uh,
if the thing it spits out will be correct version of it. Quite sure it won't be, but you still get something.
Close enough, right?
Yeah.
Close enough. So I want to show you this. So on the left menu, like this is GTM OS essentially. So imagine your logo over here. Doesn't mean we need to build this, right? But it's just to illustrate. This is the sum of all of the sort of playbooks you can use. I'll show you a bunch of different motions. I'll show you the crazy ideas engine, the command center, the agents and the skills that are under the hood, and then show you some stuff on the platform. This is what it looks like with full investment, aggressive team after like 6 to 9 months, essentially. So first one is like GTM Score. That's a signal engine. It tells your reps what to focus on next. You open it in the morning, and then there's your 10, 20 leads for each salesperson. Worth calling or contacted, rank with the reason why. Sure, you could buy this off the shelf. I think Lemlist just came out with a new version of this today or yesterday. You can have vendor lock-in if you want. You can pay for this. pretty easy to actually build and to make it super customized to your use case. And this is why RevOps love this, is because we actually this actually should be customized. And not only do you have, I'll show it to you in a bit, not only do you have a score per lead, but there's also the next best action according to your sales rules, et cetera, et cetera. And then we can trigger this action automatically, and then it gets rewired into your CRM. I'm supposed to do the left menu first. This is GTM ABM. It's for the big fish enterprise deals. They're won by committees, 6 to 10 people. So this maps the whole buying committee per account and how you surround them and how you try to influence them. GTM ads. So we've worked with media buying companies. I think this is the sum of over, I don't know how many million of dollars given to Meta, to Meta and Google, essentially, and then the smaller fish. But this is the self-learning ad loops. It judges every euro on real customers from your own books, not on what the ad platform claims, and it rebalances the budget nightly. The recommendations for the past year weren't great. They're starting to be okay now. And there's also a creative engine to create creative assets as well that I can show you in a bit. This is GTM outreach. So this is the cold outreach engine, email plus LinkedIn plus WhatsApp. Once one time choreographed and sequenced, and then a human presses send on every message. This is like GTM sales, listens to the sales calls, coaches the reps, reviews the deals, looks at them nightly for drift, and then basically reps sell, and the machine does kind of the homework and the rest. This is GTM lifecycle. So this is a CRM that runs itself, customer journeys. It saves plays when someone's about to churn. And then you've got like expansion nudges, et cetera, et cetera. And this is GTM SEO Geo. So the reason I wanted to show these are like the 20 or 10% of plays that come back 90% of the time and that run, I don't know, I've stopped saying 95%, but 95% of GTM engines are run by these motions over here. So these are the ones that keep coming back again and again and again. How does the brain process identity resolution? Use a third-party tool to do this? Yeah, so when I give you access, you can go ahead and check everything that has to do with, I didn't put the dedupe one in here, but you can also build pretty simple CRM cleanup, identity resolution engines as well. All it takes is like one read-only access, and then you write the recommendations to whatever CRM you're using, whatever source of truth you're using. So when you get access to the demo, Steve, you'll be able to have a look here. I would say CRM cleanup used to be complicated. It became much easier in the past months. How do you build a data warehouse layer? Do you need a dot tool to connect to? Okay, yeah, we should chat. There's multiple roads to Rome on this one. It really depends on your context. It really depends on where it lives today. If you're on Dataverse or if you're on, it depends. I would need to understand your stack for that one. Maybe just reach out on LinkedIn and we can chat about that one. And I can even connect you with one of my guys depending on what whether you're on Azure, GCP, or AWS. Which CRM do you recommend in context of this engine? Don't care. As long as there's an API, there's a way. Go for the cheapest one. We have been playing around with Atio quite a bit recently, but I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed after the next 3, 6 months. Not so. I'm not so impressed by the CRMs anymore. Really not. As long as you have a system of record, like starting to ask myself why we need these CRMs in the end. So I would just go for what's the cheapest one that's also kind of clean, and HubSpot's fine. Salesforce is a nightmare to implement. Maybe check out Atio. For early stage, this has been quite successful, but we quickly see some of the limitations on this end. I'm still sharing my screen, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm still sharing my
We are
screen.
using Atio as well for Extrovert, and I kind of agree on the limitations, but for early stage, it's quite easy to implement.
Yeah. 6 months ago, I was calling it the HubSpot Crusher, the HubSpot Slayer, but now there's going to be an Atio Slayer as well. I don't know. Your cool early stage stack is like Atio for your CRM, Resend for emails, Vercel Supabase for your database, Vercel for your application layer, run everything through Open Router, and then your AI gateway that's done through Vercel as well. That's kind of a good early stage stack. And then anything that's sort of outreach, it's basically instantly already there. You've got a good motion, and then you're going to want to start building what I'm showing you there. That's kind of like the next step. Keyword research. I don't know if I should. No, let's not. Yeah, I mean, feeds the factory, finds what buyers actually type and ask. Um, and then there's like the pulsating one. This is the one that CEOs love because CEOs have shiny new object syndrome. The idea is which actually the whole point is building is easy now. The hard part is judging what we should build next. Uh, you mentioned instantly for cold email outreach. What about LinkedIn DM outreach? Yeah, sure. I mean, if that floats your boat, if that works well for you, sure. Lemlist is still strong. Like I'm not the Martech expert. I just know like the top two, three that usually work across all companies, and it's like, hey, reach instantly, and then you could also get yourself a Unipile API and do your own outreach, right? Build your own outreach engine. So a lot of these tools they're using, I believe, either LinkedIn official API or Unipile API, and they're built off of that. Um, but yeah, I mean, LinkedIn DM outreach. So LinkedIn DM outreach is usually for B2B organization. It's the play that gets your results the fastest. I just talked this morning to sometimes people lie when they say stuff like this. I actually had a conversation this morning with an early stage startup, and they're like, we need to get traction by October, or else we might not get that second round of internal funding. I was like, yeah, LinkedIn outreach. Simple as that. It's the fastest one to start booking in those meetings, definitely. Um, by the way, check out Extrovert. So next, the what I want to show is on the score side. I don't know what else I can show you here. So just on the left menu, usually this is a first one that the CMO wants or the RevOps want. They want mission control. So they want to understand like oversight of everything. I think data visualization tools are dead. Who's ever going to take a Power BI license ever again? Like no one, except for it's for some enterprise compliance rules. Again, I'm not talking enterprise here. Then even enterprise, we can also build a lot of this with the Power Suite, huh? If we're on Azure, for example. What's the business model you recommend for that? Can you share us a bit more about how you build your first customer and how you're building your last one? I don't mean the amount, but it's the approach. Can you rephrase that question? Um, like, what's the business model I recommend for what? Because I said a lot of stuff. I'm just not sure which one you're referring to, if possible. If you want to talk about my business model, I'm happy to share, but if you can just like refine the question, please. This is performance dashboards, reporting. Yeah, so this is usually in the top three. This is how do you approach okay, I'll get to these per hour per output. How do you calculate the value per present to decision makers? Okay, yeah, so we're releasing a book soon. Basically, it's I'll answer that in 2 seconds. It's the TMCQ approach. And I'll answer Adrian, I'll answer you in a few seconds, and Felix as well. Let me just keep going through the GTM OS. Okay, so reporting, la di da di da, that's fine. Chat. Reporting, so this is actually usually in the top three of use cases that gets asked when we start a project that's not like a direct GTM piece. Quarterly business reporting, QBR. I didn't know this, but everybody spends tons of hours on QBR. So this is usually the beauty of the brain. It's also quite easy to actually build this QBR engine, generate the QBR draft based on all the data we have in the input. Then you've got all your agents, you've got your skills over here. Under the hood, I kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. So the idea is data flows in, decisions flow through people, and then the outcome flows back into the data. So you can sort of click around this and see what the approach is. Second brain, that's just to show you this. There's too much information. Data Explorer, that's a bit boring. CRM cleanup, we discussed it. MCP servers. So with correct access control, you can also create MCP access to your second brain, to your brain, to your GTM brain, and give access to a certain amount of people so that they can use it in their LLMs, start prototyping themselves, start pulling out information themselves. And this is typically where people start drinking the Kool-Aid and understand what it is that we're actually doing here. Once you start giving them some sort of MCP access to the data that's stored here, and they actually have an LLM that has context about the business, and it's not just, spitting BS out there. I don't know if any of you have ever connected one of your own repos to your Claude Code, to your Claude Code, or to your ChatGPT, whatever you're using. Once it start to have access to your data, you understand what this is all about. And then monitoring, this is where we manage, token maxing, costs, latency, what's down, which APIs are broken, drift, et cetera, et cetera.
Just
All right.
just to clarify, just to understand better, those menu items on the left, they are not typically shown to a person in the organization all at once, right? So different people see different
No.
stuff. So if I'm,
Yeah.
for example, a rep, my home is GTM Score, right? Maybe
Yeah, you're
GTM
a rep,
Sales.
probably you only see this. So Jonas, he's doing mid-market, he will only see this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. And here on the
yeah, that
left
makes
menu,
sense.
he'll see GTM score plus maybe a chat and how this thing works. A bunch of compliance messages, don't share any documents that are proprietary data, and that's it. GTM score for any B2B business, I would say it's like number two after the LinkedIn DM outreach. Reps don't spend the time in the best way possible. We know that they still spend time scrolling through LinkedIn looking for buying intent signals. Um, and oh, sorry, I got a call. This one's like keeps coming back again and again and again and again and again and again, like nonstop. So GTM score is like basically we score all of your accounts. We see what's hot today. We check what's the acceptance of next move from your sales reps. Each sales rep sees their view only. So it's basically like, what are the next 10 leads that I should jump on right now with a score? So each score has a reason. So this one's like hot. In plain words, check this, open the last newsletter plus trial day 5. Latest this week, open the last newsletter. We believe they are ready to buy because the fit is right and the buying signals are stacking this week. Usually the score is a mix of fit, behavior, intent, recency. You can see their site activity for the last 90 days, when they're active, and then we recommend the next best move. Work the top signal, the draft is ready, add to this week's touch plan, watch for the next trigger. The email's already drafted. They can edit it, they can copy it, they can regenerate it, they can make it shorter, warmer, more direct. Depends on your sales rules, essentially. And then you can generate for these accounts a use case, a proposal, ROI one pager, battle card, message brief. You can roll this out if you have your semantic layer or your rules and a dedicated engineer. You can roll this out in like a month, basically, and it works. And like the sales reps that are using this, because usually it's adoption that's hard, it's not building. The sales rep that use these, they just outperform all the other, whether it's key account managers, AEs, SDRs, BDRs, mid-market, whatever it is, just because it's a second brain for where you should be focusing your efforts and your attention. Sure, there's a few false positives in there. Sure, the weighing of the score is not always easy, but the moment you plug in your CRM data, some of those first party, second party signals, not that hard to build this type of score. Super impactful. These are the top three, GTM score for B2B, GTM ABM for B2B, and GTM outreach for B2B. On B2C, it's GTM ads, GTM SEO, GEO, and GTM lifecycle. That's basically it. That's like top three. Which place should we be running? Which engine should we be building? It's kind of those.
What is the most
Oh, sorry.
difficult, what is the most difficult department? What is the, like, I imagine that apart from technical difficulties, there are some organizational difficulties, like how do we even, adopt this? Who gives you the most trouble? Where is the most friction in the adoption?
I don't work with, yeah, the thing is, I look for the holy trifecta before working on projects. So those get disqualified. I need strong leadership mandate. We need the budget to actually build the team. And then the third thing is very aggressive prioritization of what the use cases are. So I wouldn't be able to answer that one because I don't work if there's not strong leadership mandate with executive air cover, if there's not a sense of urgency. But if you're talking about which departments are going to push back on building this, it's just the immune system of the business that's trying to be careful. So it's legal, brand, compliance. But we play by the rules, right? In terms of how we treat data, compliance rules, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't know. It really, I only work with departments that really sort of want to go, go, go. But I can imagine that it would be potentially anything touching, PII essentially.
Yeah.
But everything is PII nowadays. So I would recommend start with GTM though. But I think I made that one pretty I think
Yeah.
that made that one pretty clear. I think I need to just if I have two more things to show you. These are kind of the numbers that you can expect by running something like this. So if you want to start implementing this, it's as simple as setting up a small pod. You got an operator who owns the outcome. This is usually somebody who understands the domain, the politics in the business, has good taste, understands the industry, this space, is going to be able to prioritize which engines we need to build first. Typically, second is you want your ops lead, somebody who understands how all the systems wired, what tools are we using, what's the MarTech stack, et cetera, et cetera. And then the GTM engineer. That's it. And then basically you got like the architect. So that's usually how I sell myself. I'm the architect. I build this up for you, help you gain like 6 months of making mistakes, help run the first weeklies, the first month, second month, third month. And usually the big gap is on the GTM engineer. So again, I think this is the hardest position to fill at the moment within GTM teams. Fully dedicated, 5 days a week, embedded in the team, AI native engineer, dedicated to marketing.
Can
That's
you
like the yeah.
can you sorry to interrupt. Can you please expand a little on the distinction between the ops lead and the GTM engineer? So, am I right to assume that ops lead basically builds the system and engineer runs the system?
Ops lead understands your CRM, understands your MarTech stack, understands the business rules, understands the business definitions. It's like sales op, marketing ops, something ops. They're going to be able to build your semantic layer. They're going to be able to help with context engineer. They're not developers. They don't know how to build, but they understand the mess that is the web of tools and how they talk together, et cetera, et cetera. They're able to pull up your MarTech stack on a slide from memory, and they know what your definitions are. Definition of lead, SQL, MQL, different phases, what's an opportunity, what's a customer, what's a deal. The engineer builds, actually codes, builds, hardens, maintains, and the operator is more like a product owner, essentially.
Got it. So, if it
Makes
is a
sense.
small team who wants to simplify this, uh, am I right to assume that it can be simplified down to two people, like kick-ass operator who is also an ops lead and a
Sure.
GTM engineer?
Yeah, if you're a really small team, sure. I think as soon as you start to be a team of like 20 or more, then it does need to be three people.
Yeah, cool.
And
Makes sense.
I think there was a question, where do you see GTM broadly speaking in 5 to 10 years? Like, I have no clue. But what I do think is, first of all, so I do think a few things on the short term. First of all, I'm starting to think more and more that there's a ratio of marketeers to engineers inside the GTM teams that's like 2 to 1. So two marketeers for one engineer might even be 1 to 1. I was telling you about the ventures we run. The ventures are now run by developers, and I come in like once a month, but they're run by developers, but who understand a bit of marketing. But so maybe a 1 to 1 engineer marketeer ratio. In terms of risk, the risk is that everybody starts doing this, so then there's no more friction for the customer, and then the customer just doesn't pay attention, and then we go back to offline channels, for example. But that's also an opportunity. I do think that for the next year or two, the stuff I'm showing you here, like everybody's playing catch up. So this is still what I'm showing you today is cutting edge. Hasn't happened yet. It's happening at the cutting edge company. So for example, I don't know if you saw the piece by Uber's running the same play, pods in every function. So I was like, oh, I've been doing this for 2 years. Cool, a bit of validation. But at Uber, they're just basically putting an engineer in every different business unit and automating, augmenting all of that stuff. So we're still on the cutting edge, still on the bleeding edge here, right? So it's still a competitive advantage. 5 to 10 years, I don't know. I really don't know where we'll be. I do think one thing that'll happen in the next 2, 3 years is there's going to be two internets. There's going to be one internet for humans, doom scrolling on TikTok, watching YouTube videos, whatever. And the other internet will be the agent to agent internet. Agents are going to take a lot of the purchasing decisions for us, especially on the tooling side. I cannot. You asked me like, what's a good CRM? Do you know how hard it is to do vendor selection? It's so freaking difficult. Do you know how hard it is to find what API I should be using for XYZ? Do you know how hard it is to decide like which hotel I should go to for my next holiday? At some point, the agents are going to make the recommendation. We'll kind of be the human in the loop, and then they'll make the purchasing decision. So I think our websites, our user experiences are going to need to become friendly for agents. It starts with GEO, generative engine optimization, but it's also, and you're starting to see more and more companies pop up that are agentifying your business. Your business, your solution is going to need to be able to be read and decided by agents as well. I had a few questions that I needed to jump on. So let me just finish these. 2 ways to build. The safe way is inside your Azure, inside your GCP, inside your AWS. The faster way is a playground outside of the fort of your business with read-only access to the data, and we can experiment really fast over here. The sandbox approach. This is the aggressive approach for like scale-ups and very aggressive unicorns. This is the more enterprise compliant approach. Build beats buy now. Yes, on a split. You can read through these later, what you need to make this work. This one's the most important. What do you want to focus on next and find your engineer? Like which motion do we actually want to start building? And then finding your GTM engineer to actually start building this out. 2 things I want to finish off. I promise you that people actually find this better once we're working in this way. This is a quote from like 6 months ago or something. Field marketeer told me this is great. I finally feel like I'm getting my job back. I'm not building PowerPoint presentations anymore. I'm focusing on what matters. I think that's it. And if you're interested in sort of working together before we do the questions, I can help you implement this step by step. I act as an architect. We can help embed a GTM engineer for you. They're super, super aggressively priced. They're very smart. They've done GTM before. They live in your team. You get the first month free if you're not happy. And then you can sort of cancel with 1 month notice, whatever you want. And the fully loaded cost is unbeatable. And we've trained them all up on GTM engineering. And if you want to nerd out on this stuff more, join the Gen AI Circle over here, the genaicircle.com. If you want an engineer or if you want help on implementing this, just reach out on LinkedIn. Uh, Let me see. Okay, so we've got some philosophical question. Is this the end of capitalism and the end of all jobs? Should I spend my money on 5 holidays and then come back? No, 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 no. The jobs will be here. It's creating more jobs than anything. A system like this could really level up a recruiting function, right? Yeah, yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, by the way, why do we even just sort out your work day first, if possible, and your rules and your definition. But yeah, yeah, yeah. This works really, really well for recruiting. My brother, he's head of recruitment at GlowPros, and he used to run it at Excel Partners, and he used to work at Bird, the old message Bird, and like we nerd out all the time on what can be done there. Because what's the difference between recruitment and sales? There is none. It's exactly the same thing. Trying to access URL, Extrovert webinar, but doesn't work here. Why? Oh, that's on my local machine. Oh, it's a joke. Okay. Thank you. Interesting take. I don't want to get philosophical nor political. Where do you see GTM? Yeah, that's cool. One thing I think kept me from developing highly automated workflows is the knowledge that things change fast. Where are you able to edit, update the outputs of some of your autonomous processes? Is it within the GTM OS? What is your agent model stack? And where are they typically hosted? So for early stage company, we just build off of it's Supabase for the database, Vercel for the application layer. Actually, you can go check my stack. I think I put my stacks on the homepage. If you go back to homepage and you look at GTM OS over here, oh no, I deprecated it. Can you ping me on LinkedIn, please? So I can show you a few examples. I'll ask you 2, 3 questions. I want to understand the size of your company. Are you married to Azure, Google, or AWS, or can you be a bit independent? And then I can recommend the ideal stack depending on that. Per hour, per output, per employee, etc. How do you calculate the value to present to decision makers? Yeah, so that's the ROI model, ROI calculator. Same thing. Can you send me a LinkedIn message? I'll send you. I have a playbook for that ROI calculation. But basically, it's top line or cost. Are we saving cost or are we increasing top line? I mean, that's basically how you kind of pitch it, and then we make a bunch of like calculations that never end up being true. However, if you run a proof of concept, it's then you can start to justify the ROI, but it's either time slash cost savings or increase to the top line, whether it's through pipeline generation or actual deals closed. And employee retention, by the way, that's starting to come up more and more.
Can you share some of your
Oh,
thoughts about who is it for? I mean, like there are obviously several ways to do it. Like, I don't know, super minimum way would be to just vibe code some portion of it uh, yourself. You know, so the proper way to do it would be obviously go in with your help, with your services, and like there is something in the middle, like b building this in-house with this three people approach that you shared. Uh, can you share the boundaries, like which companies should go which road, um, depending on their, headcount, runway, IRR, etc.
yeah. So what I think is that building is easy now, distribution's everything. So this should be at the top of all priority lists to build out GTM. All, top priority. Distribution is key. I'd say if you're like 1 to 10 people, build this out yourself, start vibe coding, and then it'll fall in the lap of your CTO, your technical co-founder, your IT team, and hopefully they'll build a little time for it rather than only building out the product. And that's where maybe you actually want to buy solutions. Start buying the solutions because your vibe coding app might not cut it once you start scaling, unless you start really investing time in Claude Code or Codex and learn to build out automations with, for example, Hermes and Paperclip. Right? We were talking about Hermes before. So Hermes, Paperclip, you get good at Claude Code, you can do it, but it's a full-time job. And you'll
Yeah,
spend more time maintaining and connecting things together. I would say like 10 to 50, get a GTM engineer. It's your next hire. Get a GTM engineer, it's your next hire, and then your person, your maybe your one of your co-founders, whoever is the best at marketing, can be sort of that owner. People still reach out to me when they're a team of like I do early stage as well, just because they want to save 6 months, not make the same mistakes and go a little bit faster. It depends if there's a bit of budget. And then 50 to 200 invest in the pod, like simple as really invest in the pod, full-time dedicated. There's no better investment at this point. I really don't of course, I'm like, yeah, I'm preaching to myself to the choir, but I don't see any better investment than setting up these GTM engines because it's a great AI augmentation use case for within the business, so it'll shine through the rest of the business. Two, it's going to improve your top line, whether it's new leads generated, new deals generated, or new revenue. And then three, you're going to see the cost optimizations on your headcount as well. Like it is also a headcount play. The 100x marketeer, start building it now. You won't have to spend as much on payroll moving forward. You'll have a system that's sort of a self-learning, self-healing, all of that stuff.
yeah. We have a question from Sarah. Does it make sense to invest in some kind of formal certification or degree in engineering with a business background?
I don't know. I hate formal certifications unless it's to get a promotion, like if it's on a specific tool. If it's on a specific like HubSpot certification, Azure certification, AWS certification. I don't know if there's good courses around it. The best way to learn is start doing. And the only tip I could give you is start playing around with go monk mode and start learning how to use Claude Code and building up your own repo, basically.
Yeah.
Like the modern day marketeer works from the terminal. The modern day marketeer works from the terminal. Easy, it depends. I mean, if you're in enterprise, it won't be possible, et cetera, but it's command line marketeers. And this will piss a lot of people off, but that's the cutting edge I see. I feel
Yeah,
spending
same.
years in
I
uni
kind of
again
agree
might not be
here.
the way. I'm
Okay.
early startup being the operator, so wondering what the cost of GTM engineer. It depends on the use case, but it's between 5,500 to 7,000 per month, fully loaded cost. Fully loaded. You can cancel anytime. And the ROI kicks in after like month two, basically. And then you're like, I can't live without this person. I'm not tied in with AWS, but have credits. I want to use anti-gravity and Cloud Code. Cool. Like, go for it. This is the way. This is the way.
Awesome. We are on time. David, thanks a lot. This was great. This is super interesting. I am sure that it is a really good food for thought for everyone here, and it is will take some time to process. For me, for sure. I learned a lot in this session. Also, will you be sharing the slides? Because I'll be following up with the recording, and can you share the slides as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
Awesome.
100%.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. We'll share the slides and the recording, and I hope we can do a follow-up in maybe 2-3 months and see where it goes, because it changes so quickly. So I'm sure that in 3 months, it's going to be everything will be different.
Yeah. And just a little, don't have too much anxiety. In terms of jobs, I do see an increase in the number of jobs coming from this wave. So a lot of anxiety. We need to catch up. I need to learn a lot more. Just the fact that you're here today is already a good sign. You're already in the top percentile, essentially.
Yeah, it's a bubble, when you consider how many people just actually doing this stuff, it's still a bubble, but this bubble is moving fast, so we need to catch up. Cool. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, David. Have a great end of the week, and see you. Bye.